שענה אברהם אבינו בהר המורים.
Baruchim Habayim. Once again, we're in the Sforno commentary on the Torah, and this week we're in Parsha Lecha. And it starts off by saying, Vayomer Hashem el Avraham Lech Lecha me'artzecha. So it says, Hashem said to Avram, go for yourself from your land, from your relatives and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. It says here, El haaretz asher arecha. So there's a couple issues that come up at the beginning of this parsha of Lech Lecha. First of all, the theme the Sforno develops compared to other mafarshim is that the qualities of Eretz Israel was known to Avraham even before Hashem guided him to the land. We can see this at the end of Parsha Noach. So last week was Parsha Noach, and if we come to Perek Yud Aleph, chapter 11 here, it says here in verse 31, we see that Terach took Avraham, Lot, and Sarai to they left from Ur Chasdim, and they went there. They were on their way to go where? So it says Terach took his son Avram and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of Avram, his son, and they departed with them from Ur Chasdim to go to the land of what? Canaan. They arrived at Haran and they settled there. So we see here that they were already on their way to the land of Eretz Israel. But here in our Parsha, in verse 1 here, it says, Hashem said to Avram, go for yourself from your land. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't even specify the land. And we see here in verse 5, Avram took his wife Sarai and Lot, his brother's son, and all their wealth they had amassed, and the souls that they made in Haran, and they left to go to the land of Canaan. How did they know to go to the land of Canaan? Who told them to go there? How did Avraham Avinu know Hashem was talking about Eretz Israel? Now, other mafarshim have different answers to this question, but Sforno's approach is at the end, in the end of Parsha Noach, which we just read. Sforno gives these notes here, and so it says, the Lechet Artsa Canaan, to go to the land of Canaan. This land was predisposed to bring about intellectual elevation and was more desirable spiritually than all the other lands. As it says, Eretz Asher Hashem Alahecha Doresh Asa, a land which Hashem your God cares for. And this is quoted in Devarim 11:12. And it says its climate had not been adversely affected by the flood. So first of all, see, everyone knew that the land of Eretz Israel was a much elevated place to go. That it even from the beginning of time, Eretz Israel was given to the land of the children of Israel. And so here we see that even Terach and others knew that this land was much more advanced spiritually and better. And what's interesting, it says, Sforno says that its climate had not been adversely affected by the flood's rains as of other lands. As it says, Lo gushma b'yom za'am, not to be washed with rain on the day of indignation. So this Sforno is quoting that the flood, Noah's flood, did not even come to Eretz Israel. And he quotes this verse in Ezekiel 22:24, and this is what it says here. It says, Ben Adam, say to her, you are a land that has not been cleansed. She has not been rained upon on the day of fury. And so here we see, many speculate, was Eretz Israel flooded? Was the whole entire world flooded or not? Well, here we have it that there's a source saying Israel was not flooded. And going on further in the footnotes, it says to go to the land of Canaan. Terach senses that the land of Canaan represented the potential for spiritual excellence and a place which could cause revolutionary change in history of mankind. He sets out to go there, but never reaches his destination. His son Avraham, however, is destined to realize Terach's dream. Strangely, once Terach's initial plan is frustrated, he loses all desire to go to that special land, even after his son had become a prince in the land, and his fame as teacher and man of righteousness is spread far and wide. The fact that Lot and all of Abraham's family does accompany Abraham is most commendable, and as a result he is rewarded with wealth, while his offspring Ammon and Moab are granted inheritance in the land that was once Canaan. And so we see that when it says, going back to Hashem says to Abraham, go to your land, what does this mean again? What that I will show you, go to the land that I will show you. It doesn't mean the country. It doesn't mean that this just go to Israel, the land I show you, but rather what the Sforno is saying is that go to the region, the place, the spot that I will show you. And this place is where Abraham will set up and spread the Devar Hashem. And we see again in verse 6 here, it says that Abraham passed into the land as far as the site of Shechem until the plain of Moreh. The Canaanite was then in the land. So we see that Abraham is traveling, and he's going through, and he comes to Shechem, and this is where Hashem appears to Abraham. And he said here in verse 7, Hashem appeared to Abraham and said, to your offspring will I give this land. So he says, I'm going to give this land to your children. And in verse 8 here, we see from there he relocated to the mountains of east of Bethel and pitched his tent, and with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there an altar to Hashem, a mizbeach to Hashem, and invoked HaKodesh Baruch Hu by name. And so we see in verse 8 here, there's two places mentioned, and Abraham builds a mizbeach. Why is this so important to know? And why does it specify, like, Abraham was right smack in the middle of these two places? Like, why mention this? Who cares about the two places? What does this have to do with anything? And Sforno, he actually shows it again in these footnotes here. And it says here that they embarked on the land of Canaan. It says here, to the land that I will show you. And yeah, this is what the Sforno says, that it does not mean the whole land of Israel, but the time he set out on the journey. Therefore, the Sforno interprets the phrase to mean a particular place in Canaan that God would show him. And so we see that it's a specific spot. And what about these two places? Why in the middle? What was Abraham doing? And it says, Beis El Miyam. It says, V'ha'ai Mikedem. Bethel on the west and Ai on the east, between the two large cities, so that many people would come to listen when he called in the name of Hashem. So what was Abraham doing smack in the middle of these two places? So these were like in the mountains, but two giant cities. But Abraham, this was the purpose of why he set up here. He never went closer to the left nor to the right, but he stayed in the middle. This is why it states that he traveled steadily toward the south, we see here in verse 8. And what does this mean? That journeying toward the south, as he journeyed from place to place, as is the custom of shepherds, he did not turn eastward or westward, so not to turn away from these two cities. So he didn't go closer to the left or closer to the right, because he wanted to maximize and influence the number of people from both sides to draw near to Abraham. If he went a little to the left, the other side may feel more neglected and then turn away. So Abraham's stuck in the middle. This is what it means when he went southward. And so Abraham was doing outreach. And so he was like the first evangelist. And so that is pretty interesting here. And also, we go back for a minute to the very beginning again, and it says here in verse 2, I will bless you and make your name great. So yeah, let's see here. It says, I will bless you and I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. What does it mean, you shall be a blessing? Baracha. It's, what does it mean, you will be a blessing? And the Sforno actually says that Hashem blesses Abraham. He says, I'm going to make your name great. You will be a bracha. What does it mean, you will be a bracha? This is what the Sforno says. You will be a bracha. The Mefarshim give a few interpretations. Some say Hashem will give the power to bless others, or when the people bless their own children, they will mention Abraham. So Sforno writes as follows, giving a blessing to Hashem, that literally that Abraham will be a bracha, but really a bracha to Hashem. What does this mean? Hashem is so the Sforno actually says here, and you shall be a blessing. The blessing of God is that he should rejoice in his creation, as the sages have said. V'yagolu, it says here, God said to me, Ishmael, my son, bless me. I replied, may it be your will, and your mercy will prevail over your other attributes. So this is, Sforno quotes Brachos 7a, Masechet Brachos 7a. And here we see, here I have the right in front of me here, it says, Tanya was taught in a Baraisa. Our Yishmael ben Elisha said, one time on Yom Kippur, I entered inside the Holy of Holies to burn incense, and I saw HaKodesh Baruch Hu. He was sitting on the high and lofty throne, and God said to me, Yishmael, my son, bless me. And I said to him, may it be your will. It says, Yehi ratzon mefenecha, may it be your will. Sheyich v'shu rachamecha es ka'ascha, that your mercy conquer your anger, and that your mercy overcome your sterner attributes, and that may you behave toward your children with the attribute of mercy, and that for their sake you go beyond the boundary of judgment. Upon concluding this bracha, he nodded to me with his head, demonstrating his approval. So right here, this actually sounds like not really a blessing to Hashem, but a blessing for Israel. But you see, the Sforno is really saying that when we carry out Hashem's will, when we act upon Hashem's commands, this brings, this is when Hashem is happy. He's happy to see his creatures doing his will. Not that they have the power to bless, but to ask Hashem to bless. And when we're blessing others, when we're doing something selflessly, and when we're going beyond and reaching out to others and just obeying Torah and doing his will, this is like giving a bracha to Hashem. It's in a way we bestow a gift to Hashem. And Hashem is really saying, act in such a way that will be a bracha, teaching others to walk in his way. Last Parsha, we see Noah taught people to be good, but he didn't really connect them to Hashem. He didn't really tell them to do teshuvah. He just did the minimum. He told them to, okay, be good. This is the right way to act, but that's about it. And Abraham, we see here, he went on and beyond. So he was not only telling people how to act, but he was showing them the true God, the one God, the God of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, the God of Israel. So this is what he was showing, and this is an amazing commentary I find from the Sforno. and I just wanted to share his perspective, and hope you enjoyed the video. May you all go out and share Torah. Hashem is happy when we share Torah, and just try to walk in his ways and go for yourself. Lech Lecha.